So I'm Ronnie Cohen, and today I'm interviewing Vivien Lei, who is a social entrepreneur and now a corporate executive in a medical devices company in New Zealand. And Vivien has won a prize in New Zealand for coming up with the idea of tax credits to companies that achieve positive impacts. That's a very interesting idea because it would motivate companies positively to do the right thing. So, Vivien, such a pleasure to be with you today. Thank you for joining us. How did you come up with the idea?
Thank you, Ronnie. It's such an honor to be here. Um, yes, I think when I was first starting to come up with this idea, I really think that it wasn't really just a specific moment I was thinking about it, but also all my experience that had led up to that idea. So before I kind of worked in the corporate space, as you mentioned, I've been a social entrepreneur for around 6 years, where I was really building and growing ventures from scratch, and really immersed in kind of the social enterprise ecosystem. And for me, it's always been important to measure impact so that you can understand how you're tracking against your definition of success, and check that you're having the intended effects, and articulate how what you're doing really links to the ultimate end goals that you're trying to achieve. And so I think others are realizing this too. That's why we're seeing all these environmental reporting and evolving accounting standards. And I just had in my mind that there's an opportunity here for tax to proactively adapt alongside them, and not fall behind. So, against this backdrop, we're very fortunate here in New Zealand to have this tax policy competition, which seeks to encourage the next generation of think tanks, really. And out of the competition's themes, I was immediately drawn to the environment one. I personally believe that it's imperative that we start taking deliberate and perhaps even bold actions about our environment and this trajectory. And so my thinking was never about penalizing people for doing bad things, but it's how can we make sure that the full costs of an activity is clear, and can we incentivize a significant change in behaviors and norms really towards positive outcomes.
Yeah, because we've heard people talk about the carbon tax and the sugar tax, and of course that creates immediately a negative reaction. But when you begin to talk in terms of tax credits, you begin also to incentivize those who want to bring solutions through new entrepreneurial business models, right? You're not just disincentivizing those that are creating harm. You're incentivizing everyone, but perhaps particularly companies that develop new business models that can achieve huge environmental or social impact improvement. Um, have you thought through where you would start implementing such an idea in New Zealand or elsewhere?
Yes, it's a very interesting question, because I think this is quite a big idea, and if I'm very honest, I don't think many organizations probably have the capability for it to be implemented right now at scale. I mean, we're talking about a huge leap in the sophistication of impact measurement and understanding within organizations. I think in terms of the initial implementation, I think it's really important that at the start it is a slow one and that it's voluntary. And the other kind of target group I think will be very helpful is large organizations. I think large organizations are likely to be the largest contributors, to be honest, in terms of impact on the environment. And they're most likely to be doing some sort of voluntary environmental impact measurement already. And they're likely to have actions with quite a significant impact due to their scale and their size. And I think that's kind of the best way to start. And this is such a complex idea that I think it will evolve a lot as you see people apply it in practice and kind of what they struggle with. And I see in future that as accounting standards mandate disclosures, then this tax policy almost goes hand in hand with it. And as disclosures are mandated and people get kind of more sophisticated around measuring impact, the next question naturally goes, okay, what do we do with all these disclosures that we're making? And that's kind of where the tax comes in, I think.
Yeah, no, that sounds very much like the way things are going to develop with the SEC and the ISSB and the EU and the new International Foundation for Valuing Impacts, bringing monetized impacts actually within the realm of accounting. Um, so I'm curious to know whether you've discussed this idea with policymakers in New Zealand and how the idea has been received more generally.
Yeah, so the competition is sponsored by a charitable trust in New Zealand that's quite respected in the tax community. So through the course of the competition, I was very lucky to have the chance to present my idea in front of an audience of various tax professionals, both policy officials from Inland Revenue, our tax authority, as well as advisors and kind of professionals in the corporate space. I think generally people have been very supportive. I think environmental taxes and other policy mechanisms are topical at the moment, and it's probably not just New Zealand, but worldwide as well. I think specific to New Zealand, it is election year for us, and from what we can see at this stage, most of the parties are focused on, I guess, policies that will win over the general public rather than anything that will require a lot of work to kind of develop. But I think it's important to acknowledge that this is still very much an idea in its infancy. So I first wrote the proposal probably like less than a year ago, and I think my hope is that it inspires other people in our industry to think about policies that could positively impact our environment, society. And the answer might not be impact weighted tax, but yeah, I hope to inspire someone who does have a strong vision for the future, and maybe has the answer we're all waiting for.
Well, we hope the same, and good luck with your efforts to do that. It would be wonderful if New Zealand led the world in implementing this. Thank you very much, Vivien Lei.